Those of you that have watched me for a long time will know how like I really like these like Fighters Climax sleeves. So I have 2012, I have 2013 on my main standard deck, on my main DP, and I have 2014, and then after that they kind of stopped doing these. They started doing like I don't know, they started doing these like, other event exclusive ones, which I also collect, but there's one more, which is Fighters Climax 2011, and I've been searching for all these years to buy them, and I finally found someone on Facebook, and they were selling them for 100 USD, and I was like, maybe next time. Anyway, welcome guys. Today we're going to be doing something you guys have been requesting a lot, which is my Premium Dimension Police Post Premium Collection 2020, August 2020. Whoa, 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 whoa. So we're going to do that, but keep in mind that this deck will be only really like relevant for, I don't know, like what, 3 weeks, because we're getting VBTO8 very soon, and the deck actually changes a lot after that. We get a lot of really cool cards, very spicy things that we can put in, very cool new like additions to this deck that make it even better in my opinion. So we're going to be playing with this for 3 weeks, and then we're going to change it up, and I will do another updated deck profile once we're close to the VBTO8 release, because I think that the deck gets a lot better, actually very good. I think it's a very nice premium deck. Like even now, you guys saw in the video, if you haven't seen it already, what are you doing? Go to Solemn Vanguard's channel, watch our fight between this deck and his Grand Blue deck, and then come back and watch this, honestly, because you'll get to like understand the deck better if you see it in action. And also a huge thank you to him. You saw me play on this playmat, he let me keep it. This is his new Alter Ego Messiah playmat. Very, very beautiful. I think that's one of the really... I think anytime Sadui designs one of his playmats, it's just like god tier. Like I don't think I've seen Sadui actually fail on a design. It's amazing. It's a god tier playmat. Go pick it up on Zero Damage Gaming if you haven't already, because that's very good stuff. But anyway, now that we're done with that, let's get into the deck profile. So, getting into it, let's take a look at, well, first things first, the starter is just Daiyusha. So Daiyusha is just your regular V-Series starter. You know, when right upon you draw a card, and then if you are second, then you also get a quick shield. So reason why we run this Daiyusha instead of the old one, or like Diehawk or something like that, is simply because, well, we don't really, like, these starters have gotten too good. Like, you draw a card, potentially two, if you go second. So getting that extra card in hand from the quick shield ticket is just so great, because this, like, you really need, like, this is not a deck that pluses a lot, if at all. Really, not that much. So it's like, we appreciate that early extra card gain a lot more than like being able to like cheese stuff with Daiyusha or with Diehawk. So we're running the new Daiyusha, you know, for that reason. Then in terms of grade 3s, let's quickly go through this. We are of course running the kind of main one, which is the Diaballus. Sorry, I sneezed like super hard before I started recording this, and now my nose is a bit runny. Let me go blow it real quick and we should be better. So Mr. Diaballus, what does Mr. Diaballus do? Mr. Diaballus says, all your grade 3 units get plus 10k shield when he's on the Vanguard circle. So that's kind of the main feature of this thing, because as you guys know, Geoma Glass gives extra shield to your grade 3s as well. So we want to sit on him for most of the game and just kind of like have big shield power grade 3s. That's kind of the main function of this whole deck. His other skill, which is part of the reason why this deck can afford to like ride up on grade 3 without kind of waiting for your opponent to ride up and, you know, steal first stride, because you don't really, like, you care a lot about it, but you can get around without it. So his second skill is once per turn, count +1, soul +1. Look at the top 7 of your deck, reveal up to 1 normal unit from among them, add it to your hand, and shuffle your deck. If the revealed unit was a grade 3, then you get plus 20k, +1 crit. So when you're sitting on a force 2, obviously that's going to be a 3 damage attack, and that's very big. So you saw in the video, in the fight video, that there was kind of a situation where it's like you either guard this and you don't have counterblast, or you take it. And so that's what a lot of this deck wants to do, is this Geoma Glass, X-Gallop, and even one of our grade 2s, all are based around that, which is just like, you either take this and I do something cool, or, you know, you almost die, or, you know, you have to guard it, you know, and it's a lot of that. And basically by forcing your opponent to always guard your stuff, they don't have the counterblast to actually do their play. So that's the kind of pressure you want to be giving to them. And on top of that crazy pressure, you're also having immense guard power thanks to Diaballus and Geoma Glass. So then, of course, the kind of key card for premium at all times is Dizoras. So Dizoras is a very, very key card. Not really a right target, but rather a very, very good rear guard. His skill is, I mean, first one is Vanguard Circle. During your turn, he gets plus 5k for every card in your damage. You don't really care about that too much, but second skill is Rear Guard Circle. At the end of battle attacked, if your Vanguard's power is 35k or higher, you get almost 1 and put him into your soul, and your Vanguard gets plus 10k and drive plus 1 until end of turn. So, of course, you don't really want to play this too early. You want to be playing this with your X-Gallop or with your Stark, because you can give them extra drive checks so that when they restand, they have those extra drive checks. So X-Gallop will have plus 1 drive check for, like, you know, on the first attack it'll be 5, on the second attack it'll be 1. If you use 2, as you saw me do in the video, it's 6 and 2. Whereas with Stark, it's like, you know, it's like a 2 or 3 drive check 3 times, with the extra crit from Force 2, maybe even extra crit from the Laurel if you have it. So really amazing card, but like you only really need 2 on these kind of kill turns, so you can start with Geoma Glass and just kind of keep it in the back row, especially if you're playing against something that doesn't really have like retire. So that's kind of the thing to do there. Now our final grade 3 that will change actually with the next set release is actually Daiyusha. So this is the first V-Series Daiyusha. Skill's pretty simple. If his power is 35k or higher, he gains a crit, and you can rest any number of rear guards, and he gains plus 10k for every one you rest. So those skills are both Vanguard Circle only. So why are we running this? Not so much for the skill. Obviously, you can ride him up like Dizoras and just like get the extra power just to have the same kind of pressure as Dizoras has. But the main reason is the Daiyusha name, and so we're going to get into that later, but that's all you need to know for now. It's the Daiyusha name that we care about. So grade 2s, pretty standard actually. For Didragon, which is our extra power gainer, we mostly fulfill the power requirements for Dizoras with just like either just Stark GB3 gaining all that power, or you know, you just kind of get the extra 5k just to round out some magic numbers, but that's about it. His second skill is more important. He gains plus 10k when your Vanguard is 35k or greater, so that way all your attacks are swinging for lethal when you can set up like multiple Force 2s on the field especially. So that's why rewriting can be pretty nice, but you got to be careful, you know, not to misride in a way, so that you can still keep your like ultimate stride cost for Stark. But yeah, so this is a very nice card as always. You know, Didragon is always good. Another grade 2 I like is the 2-0 of Diaballus. Diaballus is pretty simple. When you call him, he gives your Vanguard the skill that when your Vanguard attacks, you can almost want to draw 1. So this card is pretty situational. It's just in some games you need to dig for pieces. Like sometimes you need to dig for a Dizoras, you need to dig for like a dig for your Laurels, stuff like that. So you just want to like, if you get given extra counterblast that you know you won't need to use, you can just waste it on him, and then you might heal it out anyway. So we don't really have reliable countercharge in the deck right now. You can run like Die Hop or something, or rather Go Hop as your kind of countercharger, but for the most part, he's a nice little tech, but you can take it out, especially with the next set coming in. That might change some things. Now, my spicy grade 2, which some of you guys noticed, and you were like, oh my god, what is this? Why are you running this? What's the point? Like, I got DMs from people going like, oh my god, I figured it out. I understand why you're running this. I was like, no, I don't think you did. It's the Die Hard. So Die Hard is a very interesting card. It's a very old card from the original BT13, and so it does things, but it doesn't really do the thing you expect. So Die Hard's skill is pretty simple. Vanguard Circle at the beginning of the attack step, so it's that Enigma and stuff all over again. If his power is 13k or greater, so if you gave him a 4k increment, and you know, we can do that quite easily thanks to Didragon, and we also have Brave that does the exact same thing, to Soul Blast 1, give Vanguard plus 5k. So you do that to give him that little power increment. Then he gets a skill that says, when his attack hits a Vanguard, you can put 2 grade 3 dimensional robos from your hand into your soul. And if you do, you search your deck for up to 1 grade 3 card with D-Robo in its card name, write it as rest and shuffle your deck. So this is kind of meant to be like a acceleration, so that you basically, you know, if you hit, you can put 2 grade 3s from your hand, which you notice we only play 12 grade 3s, and they have to be D-Robo grade 3s, so they can't be just anything. You put them into your soul, and then you search your deck for Liner and write it, and you get that like buff ability already. And then because you've been on grade 3 for a turn, next turn, even if your opponent's on grade 2, you can stride into Geoma Glass already. So that's one like way to use this card, which like it really rarely comes up because this is an on-hit. And what does that mean? That means that the opponent goes like, oh my god, if I let this hit, my opponent can stride next turn. So they usually guard it. And that is fine, because that's actually the main purpose of this card, is to be guarded. But if, for example, people now go like, okay, I said that, you know, this card is there to be guarded, then people will start no guarding it. But then it's still like, you know, you get to stride early. But the main purpose of this card is to be guarded. And why do I say that? Is, let's go back to what I said about Dieliner. What I said about Dieliner is that we want it to be, you know, they either guard it or they are nearly dead. Because then if they take it and they go to 4, X-Gallop can basically end the game, you know? But if they don't guard it, or if they guard it, you can go into Geoma Glass and again do the same thing. You get this mega crit, you know, to pressure with, where again, if they take it, they die to X-Gallop next turn. If they don't, you can just do it again next turn, you know, so it's that kind of play. So Die Hard is really cool for that reason, because if you hit, you get to stride earlier, or you just bluff. Like, very often, I use this card as a bluff, you know, you just like Soul Blast 1, give him 5, and then swing, and then they're like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, he's gonna stride. So they commit everything to guard it, you know, to like no pass it. And I'm like, oh, I only had one grade 3 in my hand anyway, you know? So it's like, and it was my Dieliner anyway. So it's like, you just bluff with this card all the time, and it's very, very good. I learned about, like, I used to play this back in the day, like in Limit Break era, but I learned about this card again from Stephen Lowe, because he actually, in NLK meta, he played this card and got top 8, I think, with DP. No, he won, I think, or got second with DP, and he qualified for Worlds with DP during NLK meta, so that was 2018. And then this card was then brought back to me by Simon Zhang, the current world champion. He threw like a cool Great Daiyusha list at me, which basically was just kind of like an OTK deck. And so he used this there as well. So I was like, you know what, it's time to bring it back. It's actually a very good grade 2 that I'm gonna take out again. Probably, maybe, I think. If I don't have enough space for it, I'm probably gonna take it out. But it's a very cool card just for that reason, because it gets that kind of on-hit pressure. So that's the grade 2s. In terms of grade 1s, premium grade 1s for DP are usually pretty standard. So the standard package is 4 Laurels. Laurel's skill is Counterblast 1 and rest 4 rearguards, can be including him. And choose one of your units until end of turn, you double its power and give it a crit. So you usually do that to your Vanguard so that your Stark or your X-Gallop are hitting for immense numbers with a crit, with a restand. So of course that's pretty good. And then our other kind of staple is the Die Brave. So Die Brave is good because it gives 5k to the Vanguard, so that turns on your Die Hard and, you know, can edge out those numbers for your strides. And then also he has the skill that when your Vanguard's attack hits a Vanguard, you put him into your soul to draw cards. So that also supplies your soul for certain cards in the deck that like to use the soul. I'll take a look at that a bit later, but it's always a good card. It's just, you know, it's a nice card that we got in the V-Series. Now, we play 4 grade 1s that are not V-Series, therefore keep in mind this is lower shield power. But we have really high shield power from our grade 3, so it's kind of okay. Now that one of them, as you guys probably saw, is the Go Cannon. Go Cannon is a interesting card because it's, again, from the same set as the Die Hard, and this was kind of used in the OTK Daiyusha deck, but I decided to keep it in this one because it still functions with the same kind of idea that the previous one, like the main deck's core is, which is just like you either take this and you're almost dead, or you're dead if I check a crit, or you don't, you use everything to guard it, which is like his skill is you put him into the soul and choose another rear guard with D-Robo in its name and also put it into the soul. So you have to soul in 2, which is nice, actually. And then you choose your Vanguard with Daiyusha in its card name and give it a crit. So you'll notice that we're running the original V-Series Daiyusha. Per stride ruling, when you stride on top of something, you inherit the name. So that still every stride that is on top of this will have the Daiyusha name. So you can always just use this to give it an extra crit. Whether that's a Stark, whether that's a X-Gallop, whether it's literally anything, you can give it an extra crit. And that's very nice because that can actually just OTK your opponent, and also it can basically just not even if it OTKs your opponent, it can give that kind of crazy pressure. And keep in mind that you've been forcing your opponent to guard all your attacks. You force them to attack to guard your Die Hard, you force them to guard your Dieliner, and now you're forcing them to guard your like Geoma Glass, and now you can force, like, they just don't have enough shield anymore to guard anything you throw at them later. So this is just like the icing on the cake, I would say. So this card, if you can pick it up for cheap, pick it up, but I'm probably gonna drop it for some time. I keep coming back to this card, honestly. Like, I've put this card back in my deck like 4 times already, you know, in G and Premium. So I can see this coming back again, so maybe pick it up if you can find it for cheap. But if you are like, if it's looking like a, I don't know, like a $10 or $15 rare, then don't do it. Don't do it. I bought these, like, I actually only had 3. Oh no, I only had 2 for a very long time, because I only bought 2 when it first came out, and then I didn't have the other 2 copies. So I had to buy them like last year, I think. And I bought them for like 50 cents, so it was fine. Like, for some reason, this card is very cheap in Europe still, at least at the time I'm making this video. But yeah, don't spend too much on it because it's not that necessary, but it's a cool card. And then, of course, you're noticing that we're getting a lot of soul. You know, like this gets us soul. We have the crit that gives us soul. Brave hitting gets us soul, you know, and stuff like that. The only things that take soul are Brave and, you know, and the Dragon itself. And some people will say, like, oh, you can play more, like, Soul Blast reliant cards. But I was like, yeah, sure. But I can also, you know, this deck is already defensive and offensive at the same time, but the defense is so thick that let's play the One of Weaking, you know? One of Weaking, I've always liked One of Weaking simply because it's such a cool card. I love this card throughout G. It was kind of my, like, secret spice. I played like 3 of it in G because you could generate so much soul thanks to Diehawk. And now you're doing the same because you're not soul blasting your starter anymore. It stays in there. You're getting extra soul from this. You're getting extra soul from your, you know, in-soul crits. You're getting extra soul if this ever hits. You're getting extra soul from Dizoras. So you're getting a lot of soul from different things. The only things that really soul blast are also like the Dieliner. That's another thing. But you're getting so much random soul in the deck that you don't actually like use so actively that you can get away with the One of Weaking. If you don't know what Weaking does, he is, when your Vanguard attacks or is attacked, you can Soul Blast 2 to choose a unit in your opponent's front row and give it minus 10k power. So this is literally like negating a trigger in a way, because you're taking away that much power. Like in G, this was even stronger because triggers were 5k, but now it's like negating a trigger. It's only once per battle, but so that's why you gotta time it really carefully, like calculate the attacks very carefully. But thanks to him and Dieliner and Geoma Glass, you can, like, you saw me almost survive a Grand Blue Megiddo turn, which is like really, really difficult. Like for most decks, you can't survive that. But with this, like, it really allows you to do things that other decks can't. So I really like running it as one of. It's like you draw it, it's great. You don't, it's fine. If you want to run 2, you can like maybe cut one of these, I would say. I used to play it like that, I think. So I think this is a card that will definitely stay because like you're still going to be getting soul pretty easily. And as a one of, it's like, if you draw it, it's great. If you don't, it's fine, you know. So you can use it. If you don't draw it for like most of the game, just use your soul more aggressively. Use your Dragons, your Dizoras, I mean your Dragons and Braves and stuff. Then, new addition, we have the Stride Fodder crits. This allows us to cut Stride Fodders from the grade 1s, and also we can use our, like, literally our grade 3s are higher shield power than our triggers. So we can guard with all our grade 3s and then, you know, stride with this. So that's obviously very good. You want to be running that. So, and crits are good. Crits are good. They help us kill our opponent faster. And then I've been mentioning these a lot already. These are the GB1. When your Vanguard attacks, put in the soul, draw a card and give the Vanguard plus 10k crits. So these are also good because that's extra soul, extra card draw, extra power, you know, to hit the thresholds and stuff. For V-Series heals, of course, you know, G-Guards are good. DPG guard is actually pretty bad, but you know, G guarding is a good form of movement throughout the game, if that makes sense. And then of course, last thing is for draw PGs, because PGs are good, you know, to survive your stuff. So that's the main deck. So main deck is pretty good. It's actually, the main deck is very important for this. Then the G Zone, of course, the first and most important card, the addition to this that made everything very nice, is Geoma Glass. Like, I'm so proud of this card because I got to introduce it, I got to bring it to the world, and now for it to be actually like the card that saves DP. So by an extent, am I the one that saved DP? I'm kidding, but like this card genuinely saved DP in my opinion. Like a lot of people underestimated it when it got released, and a lot of people were saying, "Oh my god, it's bad! You're just faking it. You're just saying it because Bushiroad told you to introduce the card, so you had to say something good." Like, no, this card is actually amazing. What are you high on? Like, relax. But so this card has multitude of skills. So first things first, it has a continuous on Vanguard Circle and G Zone when it's face up, which is that all your grade 3s on Rear Guard and Guardian Circle get plus 5k power, plus 5k shield, and intercept. So that is so huge, because that means that with every face-up copy, your shields get bigger. Also, your grade 3 attacks get bigger, so you can swing with a Dizoras and boost it for 23, for example, when two of them are face up, which is actually a very, very good thing, and you saw that in the game that we played against Solemn, that actually really came up. So that skill already is like godlike, because with Dieliner, your shields are so big you can survive most attacks, and it's just like, you can actually play even more grade 3s. Like, after VBT08, I'm actually going to play 13 grade 3s, I think, is what I was planning to do. So we're going to see how things change from there on. But so because of that, you can play super aggressively. But then his second skill is an icing on the cake, because this deck, as I said, doesn't plus that much, but this card gives you a +2, because it says when attack +1, flip a Geona face up, which is always Geoma Glass. Please always flip this face up with any effect that says flip a Geona face up, flip Geoma Glass face up, because you will not regret it. Also, you'll notice I'm not playing Tempest Sphere, because I feel like it's not enough to, like this is a great effect, but it doesn't do as much being face up. So I might play like one eventually, maybe with the next iteration of the build, but for now I think it's fine. But anyway, second skill is combos 1, flip a Geona face up, look at the top 7 cards of your deck and call 2 from among them, and he gets a crit for each grade 3 in your field. So again, you just like I said before, we're trying to make them guard the Die Hard. Then we're trying to make them guard the Dieliner. And if they don't, then they go to 4. But if they do, you go into this, and again, it's like you got the Force 2, you put down like 2 grade 3s, again, they're looking at 4 damage. Like, they're literally ready to die to this big, big kaiju, and so that's great for us. So if they don't guard that, they go to almost lethal, and who finished them? It's the X-Gallop. So, God, Geoma Glass is an amazing card. Just such an amazing card. I cannot stress it enough. But then, of course, kind of one of our win cons is the X-Gallop. So only when you can play more. I play 2, but I probably will put in more, because you'll notice the other G units are kind of like situational cards that aren't even that good, and especially one of them will definitely be cut soon, I think. But I think, honestly, 4 of them should be cut soon, but I'm still kind of thinking about it. So for now, 2 X-Gallops, but 3 I think is the best number. But I'm trying not to change my build at all right now from the one that I use in the fight, so it can be accurate. But so X-Gallop's skill is first GB3, he gains plus 10k for every face-up G unit. So that's the only reason why you would want to play Tempest Sphere, is so that your X-Gallop is bigger when you would stride it. So you have like a first stride option of X-Gallop, but you usually want to first stride Geoma Glass anyway. Then his main skill is once per turn, Vanguard Circle, Burst. When it attacks, if this unit's power is 40k or greater, you can count +1 and flip a G unit face up. Don't forget who you're flipping face up. And then he gets drive +1, so he's a 4 drive check attack. And then at the end of the battle, if his power is 80k or greater, you stand it and it loses those 4 drives. So usually you are going into it with the restand because you have the GB3 ready, because your first stride was Geoma Glass in most cases. And then you get to restand with no drive checks, but if you use Dizoras, then you can still get those extra drive checks, as I showed in the fight video. So that was also a very nice thing to show off. So this is obviously very great, because you're attacking with the extra crit from the Force 2, extra crit if you use the Go Cannon, you know, extra crit if you use the Laurel or something like that. So it's very threatening. You can usually hit over 100k very easily, and it's very good for that. So this is kind of like your main win con. You flip Geoma Glass face up from it as well, so you can like then stride it again the second time if you need to, but you can always go without that as well. Now, he is a burst card, and I got a lot of comments of people going like, oh, why aren't you playing Linka, you know, the guard break stand trigger? And as much as I like Linka, and I really thought about it, I feel like I really prefer to just go for the crits, because that means that every attack is super threatening. Like, I really want to threaten lethal as much as possible, so I don't think cutting like heals, because you want a G-guard for this guy's GB3, I don't think cutting those crits is good either, because they're very amazing crits, and cutting draw PGs is not really what I'm looking for either. So I'm not playing Linka, but you can experiment with Linka. But like I said, also, like, you only can use Linka with this anyway, so it's like, I don't know, I don't feel that happy about it. Now, the strides that will probably get cut and I never go into are Dymax. This basically gives plus 15k to your front row D-Robos and a extra 2 crits to himself eventually, and crits to your rear guard. So it's kind of there to just threaten lethal, but it's really the least powerful stride. It used to be really good in G, but trigger powers are too big. This guy needs a buff, please. Bushiroad, please just reprint this with like more power. Thank you. And also not D-Robo restricted. But this is probably gonna get cut, because like right now we are running mostly D-Robos, but in the future we're gonna be running less. So we're gonna see. Like, people also said, like, oh, why don't you play Platinum Ace? But I was like, that uses even more soul, and I want to use that for weakening. But you can play Platinum Ace, but, like, if you want to go into this, you really need to play Grade 2 D-Robos and Grade 3 D-Robos, so you have to kind of, you know, restrict yourself in that sense. But this is still a nice card, like, in some situations, especially if you weren't able to re-ride, just set up more Force 2s, it's gonna be nice to just give crits to everything in your front row, and then that way you can like push for lethal. If you got them to 4 damage, if they took like your Dieliner or your first Geoma Glass, then you can go into this as well if you don't have like enough G units face up for like the Gallop GB3 or something. So this is like another option instead of going for a second Geoma Glass. So and I might keep it. The one card that really is gonna be cut is Great Diarth, because like Geoma Glass literally does this better. So yeah, like his job has basically been replaced by, you know, Geoma Glass. And, you know, I mean, his skill is still Counterblast 2 and Persona Flip, and then you search for a Dimensional Roar Grade 3 and Grade 2 and Spirit Call them. And then I think if you have, what, 2 or more face-up D-Robos in your G-Zone, he gets a crit. So literally, like, every part of this skill, Geoma Glass does better. He calls 2 cards, not restricted to D-Robo. Of course, it's top 7, so it's not as much, like, you know, freedom. This allowed you to play, like, one of techs, and you could, like, safely search them. But Geoma Glass now, like, you just don't run one of techs, because you can never, like, you know, like my one of tech, my weakening, I could never find it. But, you know, now with the Geoma Glass, I could maybe if it's in the top 7. But, so, you lose that kind of one of tech, grade 2, grade 3 slot kind of gameplay, but honestly, you can still hit your stuff with Geoma Glass pretty consistently, and the extra crit is much more pressuring. Like, you never got this crit skill off, ever, unless you ran 4 of this, or like first try Dymax or something, I don't know, like it just never really happened. So this card honestly like will be cut. You're probably looking to cut one of this for your like third X Gallop, so you're looking to like, you know, make that, and then you're cutting one of this for a like Aglium or something. So this will definitely be cut. So if you're like building this deck and you're like, oh my god, I have to like build everything card for card, don't bother with this. Don't bother with Diarth. He honestly has been outcrept. I just didn't, like I said, I don't want to change my deck list from what I used in the video, but for the September one, this will be gone. So, you've been a good boy. He's put in work since, what, 2015? It's been a long time, man. Damn. I'm getting kind of sad just thinking about it. Can't believe I have to take out a card I've been running in my G-Zone for all those years. But another card that I think will never leave the G-Zone, though, is good old Stark. So, Mr. Stark is the Xerath Dragon for Stargate, and is arguably one of the best Xerath Dragons ever, in my opinion, especially for DP. It just functions so well with Laurel. So he is an ultimate strike, so you have to discard the same copy as your Vanguard, and then when you stride him, you counterblast 2, and then he loses 2 drives for that turn, and then he doesn't rest, so he can never rest when he attacks. He always attacks like a Yu-Gi-Oh card, so you have to like just go bah, 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 you know? But he attacks 3 times, so that's really big, because already that's, you know, a big power with, even if it's 1 drive check, 3 attacks, right? But, you know, you have Force 2, so it's an extra crit. Then you have the Dizoras, so you get extra drives. So it's like 2 drive, 2 drive, 2 drive, or 3 drive, 3 drive, 3 drive. You get Laurel on top of that. He's like 100k mega crit, mega drive checks, you know, it's a huge counterblast play. Like, that, just with the Laurel, is 3 counterblasts. So obviously, you need to be careful to set up that. But in most cases, honestly, just having, like, the extra power from, like, a, just from anything, or like from a Laurel or whatever, will be enough. Like, you don't care about the extra drives as much as you care about just making this big and powerful and having a lot of damage. So Stark is really, really amazing. What an amazing card, honestly, and it is very important. You cannot really skip it. And now let's get onto the G guards, and we're running 5, and let's just kind of put them all down here together. So, oh no, sorry, let me put like this. No, wait, what was the? I have a specific order. It goes like this, this, and then this, and then this, and then this. I think that's how I do it. So these are the 5 for now, G-Arts. So this is kind of like the one of lineup that saved the world. So it's really straightforward. Like, Atlantis Dolphin is nice because it's the G-Guard flipping G-Guard, so when your opponent's Vanguard attacks something, that's the restriction for him, you basically G-Guard with him, and he gets plus 5k shield for every one of your rear guards, and if his shield is 30k or higher, you countercharge 1, soul charge 1, so it's our only soul countercharge option. So you got to be careful because you can only really like throw this down when you have like an almost or a full field. So, and also it's only when your opponent's Vanguard attacks. Excalibur is our like only 25k G guard, so it's only barely bigger than your heal, and it's also like about the same size as your grade 3 grade 3 guardians. But you have the option to discard 1 to give your Vanguard 4k, which makes your Vanguard 17k, which is like kind of okay. It's not really super amazing, but it can be good for like dodging rearguard attacks. Dismo, I have this Comic Fiesta 2017 Dismo. This one's good for protecting basically like your Laurel. You can put the effect on Laurel after you use with it. You can also put it on like your Dizoras. If you called it from Geoma Glass, you might need to protect your Dizoras with this, so keep that in mind. So that's kind of thrown down for those reasons. Zeal you saw me use. Zeal is nice because when you guard with it, you Soul Blast 1, and then you give one of your opponent's units minus 5k for a battle, and then if you have the same or more damage than your opponent, you can counterblast 1 to get 5k on your Vanguard. So again, it's that kind of like defensive play where you now have a permanent 5k for that turn on your Vanguard, and you also get to basically just, you know, like tank more attacks. And then finally, Go5 is the other like Soul Blast 1 G-Guard, so you have to Soul Blast a card that is 5k power or greater, so be careful not to Soul Blast your crits. And then when you guard with him, he gets plus 10k for that, plus 10k shield for that battle, and if a card was put into damage on this turn, he gets plus 5k for that battle as well. So I actually misplayed with this card. I assumed I got the full power on him, but I didn't actually take a damage that turn, so make sure you're careful with that, to not, you know, miscalculate. I actually only gained the 25k shield instead of the 30, so be careful with that. But he's our biggest shield, he's 30, unless you have full field with Atlantis Dolphin, in which case he will be like 40k shield, because, you know, you get 25 from having 5 rear guards and 15, so it's 40. So this is by far the biggest G-Guard, but it's restricted in how much you can use it because of the way that it's worded. But the most common ones are like this, sometimes this, in terms of your G-Guard options. But I would put in the drop 1, draw 1 G-Guard, just to help you draw into your pieces. But on that note, here's my epic divider between my G-Zone and my main deck. So this is my current premium D-Robo deck. It will change a fair bit, but oops, that's the wrong card. That is the wrong card. There we go. So this is my premium Dimension Police right now for August 2020. It will change next month, but for now, have some fun with this deck, honestly, whether it's remote or in card shops, if the state in your country is better, or if, you know, you just play in CFA, you can try out with it as well. It's honestly really, really fun. I recommend messing around with it. I think you guys will have a lot of fun with it too. But on that note, that's basically going to be it for me today. Again, huge thank you to Solemn Vanguard for making that video. Make sure you watch it. Thank you for gifting this playmat as well. Make sure you check out Zero Damage Gaming. I also get I get most of my cards from Claret cards, so I'm just literally a Solemn shill. So make sure you get your cards from Claret cards if you live in Europe. I think that'll be very nice as well. But on that note, that's basically going to be it for me today. This was a long deck profile, but very fun to do. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.